Hello. Hello, this is Daniel Stone, owner of Two Birds, One Stone Learning, and this is our first podcast. The title of this podcast is the apps and other software that I use to run my book of business, which is a English language school. This is an English language school that is in Columbus, Ohio. We have been an limited liability company since 2014. In November, we will be celebrating 5 years. So I'm going to go down my list and discuss the apps and software that I use to run my business. So first, Two Birds, One Stone Learning. We primarily focus on the expatriate community, the international business community of Columbus, Ohio, Central Ohio, and we primarily provide support to the Japanese expatriates, the Honda people from Japan, and also the suppliers to Honda. And that pretty much covers most of what we do. The English teaching business in Columbus, Ohio is actually pretty competitive. Honda has been in the area since the early 1980s, so there are a lot of support from churches, career centers, local folks that do it out of the goodness of their heart and this sort of thing. Not saying that that's a good thing, just kind of putting it out there as who's here and doing it. But it's really an infrastructure that's kind of all over the place. And that's pretty much the nature of the landscape that we're working in. I'm going to go down my list of apps and software that I use, and I'm going to break it down into two categories. The first category that I'm going to talk about is administration, and the other category is going to be teaching. And primarily, these are apps that I have on my smartphone, an iPhone. So that's the categories. And if I remember, I'll kind of go over a few things at the end of the software that's on my computer. So first, we have, obviously, we have Amazon, like a lot of people. So from an administration standpoint, having Amazon at my fingertips has been very convenient. We go through quite a few ink cartridges, making prints for the various lessons, invoices, other administration spreadsheets that it takes to run your business. The next app, and is probably the most important app or the most valuable app, it's called MileIQ, and that is Mile and then capital IQ, all one word. And basically this app tracks my mileage, and it is on at all times, and it tracks the moment I get in my car and back up out of my driveway and drive to whatever appointment, to the post office to check mail, to make sales calls, to meet with clients, tutors, and the like. MileIQ has been very, very helpful. As an independent contractor, we all are in the United States. As an independent contractor, we are all eligible for mileage for the work that we do. So every month, at the end of the month, I log into the MileIQ website and generate a report. I have to categorize trips that aren't recognized. I've been doing this for so many years now that it recognizes many of the trips that I make as either business or not business. So there's always a few that I have to categorize. So this is a couple of $100 a month that I'm able to get from my book of business just by driving to carry out functions for my business. So I would highly recommend the app MileIQ. Next, Two Birds, One Stone Learning is a book of business that is managed by multiple people. I am the principal consultant, and there are approximately 10 language training consultants or tutors, however you want to refer to them. And the way that I'm able to keep all this coordinated is by using whentowork.com. When to Work is an app that all of our contractors have downloaded onto their smartphones, and basically it gives them their schedules for the next week, for the next month. We essentially do everything on a month-to-month basis, so they're able to, from their phones, they can, in the middle of the day, they can log in to, click on the app and find out what kind of apps they have, or what kind of tutoring appointments they have for that particular day, or if there's any cancellations or things of that sort. They can find that out in pretty easy fashion. Okay, so When to Work is something I also recommend, and it's been very helpful, and I've been using this for the last 4 years, and it was a very big improvement to the way that we kept track with everything. As you can imagine, tutors, they work a day job, or they have a full-time studying university thing that they're trying to do, and then whenever their schedule allows, they'll tutor for us. And When to Work just does a really good job of keeping track of all that. Next is the app that I have that I like to use is called MyScans. So MyScans, it is a free, basically scan. It scans documents. So basically, it'll take a picture, and you can save it as a PDF file, or you can save it as an image, and then you can email that from your smartphone to yourself or to whoever. So it works out really well when you're in between tutoring assignments, or if you're in between different tasks, and you're away from your office, and you have a lot of important documents that you need to take care of. Then that will save you from mistakenly losing the paperwork. Because let's be honest, when you're in transit from point A to point B, and you have a lot of loose paperwork that you're trying to keep separated but also together, if that makes sense, having the ability to scan from your phone really comes in handy. Next, we have the Square app, and I use Square to process credit card payments. So nearly all of our students, they pay us with either a check, which is something that it gets sent to our physical address, or it is something that is done bank to bank. There are some students that they prefer to use credit card, and we have that ability, and that ability is courtesy of the Square app. Obviously, there are fees that are involved with using Square, so unfortunately, we have to share these fees with our customers who elect to use credit card. So we don't have too many students that use it, and mainly the fees will deter them from using the credit card, but it works out. The Square app has worked out well. Next, we have Teachers Paying Teachers. Teachers Paying Teachers is a app that I have, which from my phone, it just lets me kind of look at the online store that we have connected to our website. But to Teachers Paying Teachers, every now and then I'll get a notification that somebody purchased my one of our lessons on our online store. And so that is obviously good. It gives you an additional revenue stream to kind of keep you on track with your operational expenses, and because you know, like anything, you need to have my diverse number of revenue streams that are feeding into your book of business. So the Teachers Paying Teachers is a way to easily have an online store and to take your lessons that work really well and you really feel good about, for you to be able to sell them. I'm going to kind of go down this pretty quickly. This recording is taking a little longer than what I had thought, but that's probably a good thing. Next, I have the app called Remind. And for the last 2 years, I've been on a daily basis reminding all of our students of the upcoming lessons that they have for us. And this really comes in handy when a lot of our clientele are busy executives that maybe are having to travel, and they find out about their travel plans kind of on the spur of the moment. These busy executives or senior management, they may find out a week from now that they're going to be traveling to Mexico or to Canada or to a far-off place in the United States. And we have a cancellation policy that they need to let us know about, so we're not misusing our tutors' time. And with that being said, sometimes the reminder that I may send out may be a way from it to remind me when the student replies back telling me, no, Daniel, we don't have a lesson. I'm going to be out of town. I'm out of town right now. So the Remind app works out really well. It gives the students peace of mind that, yes, we have a lesson. We have it at this time, and the tutor is going to be coming, and it's going to be at this location. Sometimes the locations change, or in some cases, our students have multiple lessons a week, and some lessons are at their workplace, some lessons are at their residence. So the Remind app, it really works well both ways. It reminds the student, but in some cases, it reminds me. So I, as a principal consultant, I require that the students communicate whatever changes to the monthly schedule that we send out every month. It's their responsibility to let me know. They can't simply just leave it to whoever their tutor may be. They have to ultimately be the ones that take responsibility and tell me, because sometimes they may tell their tutor, but their tutor may forget. So I've kind of reassured my tutors that they're not going to be responsible for any changes. It's the student who's going to be responsible, because we go through a lot of work to make sure that the schedules stay set, with the understanding that the schedules could change. So the Reminder app, once again, is a good thing for that. The last two that I'm going to talk about is the online banking. So the day that I started to get my payments and started to take pictures with the bank, the bank function of basically scanning a check, signing the back of it, taking a picture of the back of it, and having that check deposited into my checking account, my business checking account. The day that started to happen was probably one of the best days of the early days of me running my business, because that eliminated a lot of time that I would have to spend going to the bank, going back and forth from our physical address to the bank to make deposits. I could simply make the deposit and then reflect that in my accounting software. The other, so the online banking is something that every bank in the United States has this function now. The bank that we use is Navy Federal Credit Union, and the reason why I use Navy Federal Credit Union is because they don't require a minimum balance. And early on, when my book of business was a lot smaller than it is now, having a limit that I had to maintain, it just wasn't possible in those early days. So Navy Federal basically was a big help when I could do what I needed to do to run my business, pay my contractors, pay myself, pay off my vendors, and to do it without having to worry about maintaining a $5,000 limit or $3,000 limit or something along those lines. So, like I said, the online banking function, I can also go in and I can find out if the check has cleared. Find out when it cleared. I can check my bank statements. So the online bank app is really good. So the last two that I'm going to talk about them kind of together because they're Google related. So Google Voice is the app that gives me the ability to maintain a local phone number, even though the phone number that I have on my cell phone is out of state. 614 is the local area code. So because of Google Voice, I'm able to have a local phone number. And I think having that local phone number is very helpful when you're trying to do business. It may be kind of outdated and anybody anywhere can kind of call, and having the local number might not be as important as it used to be, but having that local number, I do think it gives you more credibility, and this is done through Google Voice. And obviously, I have my work email, which I wish my work email, the One Stone Learning domain, had an app for me to check my work emails from my smartphone, but it doesn't. So I still rely heavily on Google Mail to take care of a lot of my communications via email. So I'm able to communicate within the way that it's currently set up. Google Mail is used to communicate with our vendors, our contractors. So the Daniel Teacher Online at gmail.com email address, I use that to communicate with our contractors and our vendors. Anything that is external, company related, new students inquiring, or people from the local government offices and this sort of thing, they will communicate with the daniel.stone at onestonelearning.com email address. So Gmail is really good, and I would like basically to have a way to do the same thing with my work email. And that pretty much sums up the apps that I use for my cell phone, used on my smartphone to run my business. The only other software that I kind of referred to earlier I don't have it on my phone. I have it only on my computer, and of course back it up with external thumb drives and hard drives and that sort of thing. And that is QuickBooks. And QuickBooks is probably one of the cornerstones to how my business gets run effectively. There's a lot of good things that QuickBooks can do for a small business from an accounting standpoint, and it works out really well in generating invoices, having those invoices emailed to customers. As soon as the customer's paid, I can send them a receipt. Being able to check my sales report for a particular period of time, whether it's a month or a quarter or the whole entire year. I can find out how sales are doing this year versus last year. I can also generate payment receipts to our vendors, to our tutors that carry out work in a subcontracting capacity. So QuickBooks, and I think some people may have this on their smartphone, but I do mine on my computer. So once again, those are the apps that I use to run my small business. And when I finalize this, I will make a list of this in the description section of this video clip, and would like to thank you for listening to Two Birds, One Stone Learning. And my name is Daniel Stone, the founder of Two Birds, One Stone Learning. Thank you, and have a wonderful